Welcome to B2P English. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English stories. My name is James. I always believed that life was simple. I thought I had everything planned out, but then life brought me to a moment that changed everything. I remember that day clearly. It was raining softly, and I was sitting at a small cafe by the window. That's when I saw her. She had a soft smile, eyes like the morning sky, and a sadness that only someone who has seen pain could have. Her name was Amelia. I didn't know her, but somehow, I felt like I did. I felt a pull in my heart, like I had known her forever. I wanted to talk to her, but words felt stuck inside my chest. Amelia was sitting alone, holding a book. She looked at the rain outside, her face showing a story I could not yet read. I wondered what made her so sad. Was it love? Was it loss? There was something so deep in her eyes that made me feel like I needed to know more. I finally gathered the courage to say, "Hi." She looked at me, surprised, but then her smile returned, a smile that had so many untold stories. She said, "Hello," in a voice so gentle that it almost broke my heart. Days passed, and we met at the same cafe. We talked about everything and nothing. She told me about her dreams, her fears, and her love for old songs. I could see that she had been hurt before, but she still believed in love. It was beautiful and sad at the same time. I remember a day when Amelia told me about her first love. His name was William. She said he was kind and funny, and he made her feel like the most important person in the world. But then life changed. William moved away, and they lost touch. She said, "He was my best friend, my world, and then he was gone." As she spoke, tears filled her eyes, and I could see her heart breaking all over again. I wanted to hold her hand, to tell her that it would be okay, but I knew that her pain was something only time could heal. One day, Amelia stopped coming to the cafe. I waited for her every day, but she didn't show up. My heart felt heavy with worry. I thought maybe I had done something wrong, or maybe she didn't need me anymore. Weeks went by, and then one evening, I got a message from her. It said, "James, I need to tell you something." My heart raced as I read her words. I went to the cafe, and there she was, but she was different. Her smile was gone, replaced by a look of deep sadness. She said, "James, I'm sick. Really sick." I felt the world stop around me. I didn't know what to say. She told me that she had been to the doctors, and they said it was serious. My eyes filled with tears, and I reached out to hold her hand. She squeezed my hand, and for the first time, I felt her fear. I didn't know how to help her. I wanted to take all her pain away, but I couldn't. All I could do was be there by her side. Every single day, we laughed, we cried, and sometimes we just sat in silence, feeling each other's pain. But through it all, I saw how strong she was, how she never gave up hope. We started learning English together to keep her mind busy. She said, "Learning something new helps me forget the pain, even if it's just for a little while." We practiced every day, and I could see the joy in her eyes when she got a word right. It was like a small light in the darkness. Amelia taught me that love is not just about the happy moments. It's also about holding someone's hand through their hardest days. It's about staying even when everything inside you wants to run away. It's about fighting for each other, no matter how tough life gets. We faced many challenges, and sometimes I felt like giving up, but then I remembered her smile, her laugh, the way she looked at me when she was happy, and I knew I had to keep fighting for her, for us. She once told me, "James, love is the one thing that makes all the pain worth it," and I believed her, because even in the hardest times, I felt blessed to have her in my life. She was my light, my strength, my reason to keep going. One night, as we sat watching the stars, Amelia said, "James, if anything happens to me, promise me you won't forget to smile. Promise me you'll live your life fully." Tears ran down my face, and I nodded, even though my heart was breaking into a million pieces. I promised her, but deep inside, I didn't know how I would keep that promise if she wasn't there with me. She was my everything, my heart, my soul, my true love. We laughed, we cried, and we held onto each other tighter than ever, but every day felt like we were running out of time. Still, we kept going, learning English together, talking about our dreams, sharing our fears. And in those moments, I realized how love can make you stronger, even when you're falling apart. Amelia once said, "Love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about loving the imperfect person perfectly," and I knew then that no matter what happened, I would always love her with every beat of my heart. Life was a mix of happiness and pain, joy and tears, hope and heartbreak, but I knew that I had found something special with Amelia, something that would stay with me forever, no matter where life took us. I watched as the seasons changed around us, each one bringing new memories and new challenges. Winter came, and the snow covered everything in a soft white blanket, but inside, my heart felt heavy. Amelia's health was getting worse. We spent many nights together, wrapped in blankets, sharing stories and dreams while the cold wind howled outside. One evening, as we sat on her couch, she looked at me with those bright eyes that seemed to glow even in the dim light. "James," she said softly, "I want to go on an adventure. Just one last adventure." My heart raced. I wanted to say yes, to take her anywhere she wanted to go, but I was scared. What if it was too much for her? After a moment of silence, I nodded. "Where do you want to go?" She smiled, and I felt a warmth wash over me. "Let's go to the mountains. I want to see the stars without the city lights." So we planned our trip. We packed a small bag with snacks, warm clothes, and her favorite blanket. The day we left, the sun was shining, and the sky was a beautiful blue. It felt like the world was smiling with us. As we drove toward the mountains, Amelia talked about everything she loved, nature, music, and all the small things that brought her joy. I listened, feeling grateful for every moment. But as we climbed higher, the road became steep and winding, and I could see her growing tired. When we finally reached our destination, it was breathtaking. The mountains towered around us, and the air felt fresh and clean. I could see Amelia's eyes light up with wonder. "Look at the view, James. It's beautiful." We set up a small camp by a lake, surrounded by tall trees. The water shimmered in the sunlight, and I could hear the gentle sounds of nature around us. It felt peaceful, like we were in our own little world. That night, as we sat by the campfire, I felt the warmth of the flames against my skin. Amelia wrapped her arms around me, resting her head on my shoulder. We looked up at the stars, and I could see a million tiny lights shining brightly. I wanted to capture that moment forever. But as the night grew colder, I could see her shivering. "Are you okay?" I asked, worry creeping into my voice. She nodded, but I could tell she was trying to hide her pain. I pulled her closer, wrapping the blanket around us. We talked about our dreams, our hopes for the future, and the things we still wanted to do. But underneath it all, I could feel the sadness creeping in. The next day, we went for a short hike. The trail was beautiful, filled with colorful flowers and the sound of birds singing. But halfway up the trail, Amelia stopped. She was breathing heavily, and her face turned pale. "James, I need to rest," she said, sitting down on a rock. I sat beside her, feeling panic rise in my chest. "What's wrong?" "I don't know," she replied softly. "I just feel tired." I wanted to cry, to shout that this wasn't fair, but instead, I held her hand tightly, trying to give her strength. We stayed there for a while, surrounded by nature, but all I could feel was the weight of fear in my heart. After a few minutes, she looked at me and said, "James, no matter what happens, I want you to promise me something." "Anything," I replied, my voice shaking. "Promise me you will live your life fully. Go on adventures, see the world, and find happiness. I want you to smile, even when I'm not there." Tears filled my eyes as I nodded. "I promise, Amelia. I will always remember you." As we made our way back to the campsite, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. We spent the rest of the day sitting by the lake, talking softly and laughing, trying to push the worries away. But deep down, I knew time was slipping through our fingers like sand. That night, as we lay under the stars, I held her close, wishing I could keep her safe forever. "James, do you believe in magic?" she asked suddenly. "Magic?" I echoed, confused. "Yes. I believe there's magic in love, in the way the stars shine, and the way we feel connected to each other." I smiled, feeling a flicker of hope. "I believe that too." "Then promise me we will always have this magic, no matter what happens," she said, looking deep into my eyes. "I promise," I whispered, feeling her warmth against me. But as the days passed, I watched her struggle more and more. There were moments when she was full of life, laughing and smiling, but then there were times when she seemed lost, drifting away from me. Each moment was a painful reminder of the reality we were facing. One morning, she didn't wake up. I panicked and shook her gently. "Amelia, wake up." But she just lay there, her face pale and still. My heart raced as I called for help. I felt like the world was crashing down around me. The ride back to the hospital was a blur. All I could think about was the fear of losing her. When we arrived, the doctors rushed her away, and I was left alone in the waiting room, my heart heavy with worry. I paced back and forth, feeling the weight of loneliness and sadness pressing down on me. Hours passed like days. I could hardly breathe. The thought of losing Amelia felt unbearable. I remembered her smile, her laughter, and all the moments we shared. I couldn't imagine a world without her. Finally, the doctor came out, his face serious, and my heart sank. "James," he said gently, "Amelia is stable, but her condition is serious. We are doing everything we can." I felt a wave of relief wash over me, but it was quickly replaced with fear. "Can I see her?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, but be prepared." "She's weak," he replied. When I walked into her room, my heart broke. Amelia lay in a hospital bed, her face pale and her body frail, but when she saw me, her eyes sparkled with recognition. James," she whispered, her voice weak but filled with love. I rushed to her side, taking her hand in mine. "I'm here, Amelia." "I'm here," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Promise me you won't cry," she said, her eyes searching mine. "I promise," I said, but tears fell anyway. I couldn't help it. She smiled softly, brushing my tears away with her fingers. "See? Magic," she said weakly. I sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. "You are my magic, Amelia. You are my everything." The days turned into weeks, and I watched Amelia fight. There were good days when she would laugh and tell stories, and then there were days when she was too weak to even speak. I felt like I was losing her little by little. One night, as I sat beside her, she suddenly looked serious. "James, if I can't fight anymore, I want you to promise me something." My heart sank. "What is it?" "I want you to live. Really live. Travel, explore, and find someone who can make you happy. I don't want you to stay stuck because of me. Amelia, I don't want anyone else. I want you," I replied, my voice filled with emotion. She shook her head gently. "That's not fair to you. You deserve a full life, with all its adventures and love. I need you to promise me you'll be happy, no matter what." "I promise," I said, even though my heart felt heavy. I knew she was right, but the thought of moving on without her felt impossible. As time passed, I learned more about Amelia's strength. Even in her weakest moments, she inspired me to be better. She fought hard, and I could see her spirit shining bright even in the darkest times. We spent our days together, sharing stories, dreaming about the future, and holding on to each other tightly, but there were moments of silence where the weight of reality pressed down on us. One afternoon, as we watched the sun set together, I turned to her. "Amelia, what do you want to do right now?" She looked at the sky, her face filled with peace. "I want to remember this moment. The colors, the sounds, everything." So we sat there in silence, soaking it all in. I wanted to freeze time, to hold on to that moment forever, but I knew we couldn't. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a mix of emotions wash over me. I wanted to cry, to shout, to tell the world that this wasn't fair, but I also wanted to be strong for her. I wanted to give her the happiness she deserved, even if it meant letting go. In the week that followed, I found myself struggling with the idea of losing her. I wanted to be brave, but the thought of life without Amelia felt unbearable. I often found myself thinking about her words, "Live fully, James," but how could I live fully if she wasn't with me? How could I find happiness when my heart felt so heavy? One day, after a long week at the hospital, Amelia looked at me with a serious expression. "James, I want to talk about something important." I felt a knot form in my stomach. "What is it?" "I want to write letters to you. Just little notes about my life, my dreams, and my love for you. If something happens, I want you to have them." I felt tears prick my eyes again. "Amelia, please don't talk like that." "James, listen. This is important. I want you to remember me, not just as I am now, but as I was. The girl who loved you fiercely." So we began writing letters. Each day, she would scribble down her thoughts and feelings, and I would keep them safe. It felt like a way to hold on to her, even when she was slipping away. In those letters, she wrote about our adventures, her favorite songs, and all the little moments that made her happy. I cherished each word, feeling her presence with every sentence. One night, as I read one of her letters, I felt overwhelmed with emotions. It was a letter about love, about how love never really dies. "James, love is like the stars. Even if you can't see them, they are always there, shining brightly in the sky. I looked up at the stars that night, my heart aching for her. I realized she was right. Love would always be with me, even if she wasn't. But as the weeks went by, Amelia's condition worsened. I felt like I was losing her bit by bit. Every time the phone rang, I held my breath, praying it wasn't bad news. One evening, I got a call from the hospital. "James, you need to come in." My heart raced as I rushed to the hospital. When I arrived, I found Amelia in her room, looking frail and weak, but when she saw me, her eyes lit up. "James, you're here." "I'm always here," I replied, holding her hand tightly. But as the days passed, I could see her spirit fading. The doctors did everything they could, but it felt like time was running out. On one of those long nights, as I sat beside her, she looked at me with a mix of fear and love. "James, I don't want to leave you, but I'm scared." "Amelia, you're not going anywhere. We're in this together," I said, trying to be strong for her, but deep down, I knew the truth. I felt the tears in my eyes as I tried to hold on to the moment. "You're my everything," I whispered. She smiled, but I could see the pain behind her eyes. "Promise me you'll keep living, James, even if I'm not here. Promise me you'll find joy again." "I promise," I said, but it felt like a lie. How could I promise that? In the following days, I watched as she struggled, her body growing weaker, but her spirit remained strong. She continued to write letters, pouring her heart out on the pages. One letter read, "James, remember the day we met? I was so lonely, but then you walked in and changed everything. You brought light into my life." Each letter felt like a piece of her heart, a reminder of our love. I held them close, knowing that one day they would be all I had left. Then one night, everything changed. Amelia's breathing became shallow, and I felt panic rise in my chest. I called the nurses, and they rushed in. I held her hand tightly, tears streaming down my face. "Please, Amelia, fight. You have to fight." But she just looked at me, her eyes filled with love and sadness. "James, it's okay. I'm tired. I just want to rest." I couldn't bear the thought of losing her. "No, you can't leave me. I need you." Her fingers squeezed mine gently, and she whispered, "I'll always be with you. Love never really goes away." With those words, her eyes closed slowly, and I felt the warmth of her hand slip away. I was lost in that moment, a deep emptiness filling my heart. The room fell silent, and I felt like the world had stopped. I sat there, holding her hand, feeling the weight of sadness wash over me. Time seemed to stand still as I realized the reality of what had just happened. The girl who brought so much magic into my life was gone. But as I sat there, I remembered her letters, her laughter, and all the love we shared. I remembered her promise of magic, and I felt a flicker of hope. In the days that followed, I found myself lost in grief. I struggled to find my way, to remember who I was without her. But then I took out the letters she had written for me. I read each one, feeling her presence with every word. "James, love is like the stars. It shines even in the darkest nights." Slowly, I began to understand what she meant. Love doesn't end, it transforms. It becomes a part of who you are, a guiding light that stays with you forever. One day, I stood by the lake where we had spent so many beautiful moments together. I looked up at the sky, filled with stars, and whispered, "I will live, Amelia. I will find happiness again." I could almost feel her smile, and for the first time since she left, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I knew she would always be a part of me, a part of my heart. From that day on, I carried her spirit with me. I traveled to places we had talked about, went on adventures, and learned to smile again. I kept her letters close, each one a reminder of our love and the magic we had shared. As I moved forward, I found new joy in the little things: a beautiful sunset, a warm cup of coffee, and the laughter of friends. I realized that love is not about holding on tightly, it's about cherishing the memories and carrying them with you. Amelia had taught me that even in loneliness and sadness, there is beauty in life. I remember her words, "Live fully, James. Find joy," and that's exactly what I intended to do. Each day, I took a moment to look up at the stars, feeling her presence in the night sky. I would smile and say, "Thank you, Amelia, for the magic." And though I missed her every day, I knew that love never truly dies. It lives on in the hearts of those who believe, shining brightly like the stars above.